the website that I'm going to be demonstrating with is called photopea.com. And this is basically a free version of Photoshop. For any of you that have ever used Photoshop, this is the free version of it online. So once you go to photopea.com, you are greeted with this, apparently. This is definitely the wrong screen. Did I type something wrong? Photopea. I did. I forgot the second O. Photopea.com. So make sure you don't go to the scam field. There you go. This looks more like it. So you press start using Photopea. This online program pretty much has all the features of Photoshop besides the advanced stuff that most people don't usually use anyway. So this is perfect for basic editing. I've been using this for years, so I've learned my way around. So you just click new project to begin with. And it's kind of helpful if you wanted to. It gives you all the different sizes for different social media, thumbnails and banners and headers. So for example, here's the standard Instagram square profile size. It's 1080 by 1080. Then you got the YouTube profile, YouTube thumbnail. You could click on any of them, really. It doesn't matter. You can rename the project if you wanted to. We'll leave it as new project. And I'm just going to go ahead and do 1920 by 1080, which is a Facebook event image, just to get us started. So there you go. We got our screen. We got the blank white page. Here's the new project tab right here. And let's go ahead and throw some image in here and start teaching you some basics. I got a few images lined up in a folder that I'm going to use as test subjects. And to start out with, let's just go with this lady that has a pimple. And I'm sure she doesn't like that pimple, so we're going to remove it. To add this picture to Photopea, this website, you can either go to File, Open, find that file and open it up. But the easier way is to just open the folder, left click on the picture, hold it, and just drag it in. You can either drop it on this white part right here, or you can go right on top and drop it into the work bar up on top. So if I do that, you see that this image pops out right here separately. If I were to put it in the white, it would put it right over here, and it would conform to the size that I selected in the beginning. So when you see these squares, these little white squares, you're able to resize the image. So I can move it to the side here, resize it however I want, or I can zoom in even further. I can move it around and then press enter once I'm done. If you want to resize or move the image again, you can press Control Alt T, and that will bring up the resizing option again. So I can downsize that to here and press enter to place it in place. But for now, let's just delete that. I just wanted to show you how to do it. What I'm going to do is take this image and just drop it as a new tab or a new project. Put it right in here. And we are going to work on this pimple. And like I said, this is going to be basic editing. This is not anything super hard. It should only take you a couple of minutes at most once you know what you're doing. So you got a bunch of tools on the left side. And the one that's going to be your favorite is called Spot Healing Tool. If you right click on this Band-Aid right here, you're going to see Spot Healing Brush. So you select that, and notice how this little dot is super tiny. To increase it, you could either go right here and increase the size this way. But what I like to do is to simply press this little bracket button on the keyboard. This one makes the brush go smaller, and this button makes it get bigger. It just makes it a lot faster. So I'm going to go ahead and size this brush right to the size of this pimple, just a little bigger. And literally all I have to do is just click on the pimple. Actually, just so you can see it better, let's go ahead and zoom in. Here's the magnifying glass. Or you could also just press Alt and hold it, and then use the roller on your mouse to zoom in and zoom out. If you're using a laptop and you don't have a roller, then you can just press on this magnifying glass and you can zoom in this way. And here's plus, here's minus. And if you press the H button on your keyboard, or simply find the hand and press the hand, this brings up the hand tool, and this just allows you to grab and move the image around. So if you're pressing Alt and using the little wheel on your mouse to zoom in and out, sometimes it zooms in on the wrong spot. You can bring up the hand by pressing H and move things around until we find our pimple. Here is our pimple. So back to the Spot Healing tool. You're gonna love this. Watch this. So you take this spot healing tool, and literally I'm just gonna click once right on the pimple. Bam, completely gone. So for things like wrinkles and pimples, this spot healing tool is amazing. And if I zoom out, look at that. You can't even see that it was there. I do see like a little bit of darkness around here, almost like something is there. We could write it off as just her pressing on her cheek or her jawbone. But if we wanted to make this lighter, very simple. What you do is you zoom back in, and we're going to use just the basic brush to touch this up. You can either press the B button on your keyboard, or the brush is right over here. So we're going to select our brush. We're going to increase the size of it by using those bracket keys. And what I like to do is also select the soft brush. This is the one that is like fuzzy on the outside, so it's not a hard brush. And what I mean by that is, for example, if I select this hard edge brush, watch what happens if I just press my button. See that big black dot? If I do the fuzzy one, the soft brush, this is what it looks like. See the difference? So basically colors in the inside and it gradually phases it out. It just makes it a lot more smooth. So I'm going to press Control Z to remove that. Boom, boom. We're going to stay with our soft brush. And then what you want to do is press the Alt key and hold it. And that brings you to these crosshairs. And now you can just pick whatever color on this image that you want to pick as your color to be painting with. And since we want to color this darker spot as the same color as the rest of the skin, I'm going to just go right over here and select this color. Then I can let go of my Alt key. And now another thing I like to do is to decrease my opacity or my flow. It doesn't really matter which one. Basically, it just decreases the strength of the paint coming out of the brush. So if I go at 100% and I click once on this nail, this is what it looks like. Now, if I decrease the flow to, let's say, 40%, well, 38%, see the difference? Probably not. I don't either. Let's just switch this to black really quick, just so I can show you the difference. So if I go to flow 100%, bam, there's my black. If I switch flow to, let's say, 30%, there, now you can see the big difference between 30% and 100%. I'm going to go ahead and press Control Z twice to remove all that. I'll leave the flow at 30%. And like I said, it doesn't really matter if you use flow or opacity. That basically does the same thing. It just reduces the strength of the brush, how much of that paint is actually coming out. So I'm going to do my crosshairs by pressing Alt. I'm going to select this color. And now I can just click right here, click right here, click right here, right here, right here, and maybe right there. And now let's go ahead and zoom back out. I'm going to press Alt and then use the wheel on my mouse. Look at that. That looks really good. And honestly, I'm stretching this out. This should only take you about 30 seconds after you know what you're doing, which sometimes can be a lot faster than AI or whatever program you're using that's doing it automatically, and you have to keep giving it prompts to actually do what you want. After you're satisfied with your image, you could go to File, Export As, this is how you save it, and you could either do PNG or JPEG. PNG is usually used for images that have a clear, transparent background, and JPEG is used for pretty much every other image style. So we're just going to save it as JPEG. This little window pops up. I can name it Pimple Free, and we simply press Save. Depending on which browser you're using and what your settings are, the file is going to be saved to different places, but usually it's going to be saved to the Downloads folder on your browser. Okay, so now that we're done with the pimple, let's go ahead and X that out. Let's go back to our folder and use our next image, which is this one right here. With this one, I'm going to show you how to remove text from an image. So please remove me. Let's go ahead and remove this. Like I was saying earlier, your favorite tool is always going to be the spot healing tool. So first, let's try that. I'll select the Band-Aid. I'll increase its size, and I'm going to press and hold and I'm going to highlight this whole entire text, and hopefully it's going to remove it really smoothly. Let's see what happens. Sometimes it takes a couple of seconds to process. And the more area that you select with the brush, the spot healing tool, the longer it's going to take. So as you see, there we go. It just did it, but it didn't do quite a good job. Now it just duplicated the roof as well. So what I could do is either make my brush size smaller or do something else. But just to show you, first of all, let me try to just make the brush size smaller because I think that's what the problem was. The way the spot healing tool works is it grabs the area all around the selected spot and it tries to duplicate the surroundings to mask whatever is inside. So because my brush was so large, it grabbed too much of the surroundings where it grabbed the roof. So by making this brush smaller, hopefully it's only going to grab the sky. So let's try it one more time, and this time I'm further away from the roof and I'm using a smaller brush size. Nice. Look at that. Completely gone. As if it was never there. We only have this little black spot right here. I can just simply click on it one more time. Boom. I don't know why my computer's lagging today. There you go. Completely gone. Look at that. Nice, clear, blue sky, like the text was never there. I'm going to go ahead and turn this image off. We're done with this one. Open our folder back up and try something a little bit harder. So I'll drop this image right in here. And now, on this image, we're seeing three problems. We got text in the tree, we got text here, and we got Susie that was playing in the driveway and left a pile of Legos right on the driveway. We're going to need to remove all three of these things. So without a clear background, we could try it, but of course, it's probably not going to work. We could try that spot healing tool. In fact, let's just do it once, just so we can see what happens. But we might get lucky. It's always worth a try because you can always just press Control Z and undo it. So I'm going to make my brush smaller. And I'm just going to select all this text and I'm going to grab a little more surrounding area so it has more to work with. But I don't want to be grabbing the sky because then we're going to have a big blue spot right in the middle of the tree. So let's see if that works. Wow, it actually worked very well. I'm impressed. I was about to show you a different tool, but look at that. It did a very good job right away. Nice. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave that the way it is. I was going to show you the cloning tool, but doesn't look like I'll need to. But most likely I will need to here. To begin with, I always like to use the spot healing tool just because it's the easiest and see what it does. I'm going to try to just grab the whole area and see if it can heal it. Wow, that's not too bad. Okay, so we can see that the roof is a little off. I could just try to use the spot healing tool one more time. I'm just going to select this area right here. And hopefully it'll completely solve it. Ah, it didn't. Look at that, it's doing that. Okay, so what we could do here is what I was planning to do on the tree. And that is the stamp tool right over here. So let's go ahead and select that. With the stamp tool, you can literally stamp anywhere on the image and then copy that place to somewhere else. It's kind of hard to explain, and I don't know what all the technical terms are, so it's going to be easier to just show it to you. So bring these crosshairs to whatever you want to stamp, whatever area, and press Alt, the Alt key on the keyboard, and hold it. So I'm going to stamp right over here, right in the middle of it. Then let go of the Alt key, and now I'm going to bring it up here. This is where I want to copy that stamped location to. So I press and hold the left key on my mouse, just like that. And as I'm moving up, you can see that little plus sign. That's where I'm actually copying it from. Okay, so we're seeing that something is going wrong here. And that's okay. We can press Control Z. And it looked like at the beginning it was okay, but towards the middle there, things started going a little off. So I'm going to press and hold and just go halfway probably, like up to here, up to the light, just like that. And then I'm going to try to copy from here, right over here. Stamp this, pressing the Alt key and pressing stamp. And try to make it nice and straight. The first time I learned about this tool, I was so excited. I was using this all the time and just testing it out, trying different things. This is really darn cool. Once you learn how to use this, it can do some really cool things. So using the stamp tool, I was able to at least make the edge of the roof straight. So now that it's straight, let's try using this spot healing tool one more time, and hopefully this time it'll actually do its job. Select this area. No, it's not doing it. What if I try to select a bigger area? Maybe I'll have better luck. No, that's terrible. Okay, no, we don't want to do that. What if I just try to click one time instead of selecting an area? Oh, wow, that actually looks pretty good. Let's try clicking some more. Look at that. That is much better. Much better. Wow. Good deal. I didn't even know that myself. I usually try to select a bigger area, but if you just click one time, sometimes that works better, as we just saw. So, spot healing tool, stamp tool. Let me just show you how to use the stamp tool one more time, just to make sure that you understand how to use it. And I'm going to do that with the Legos. So if we go back to our roof, see when I zoom out, it's actually very hard to see that we did anything here. Look at that. That looks good. The text is completely gone here and here, but we still have the Legos. So if we go back up to the Legos, let's try the stamp tool one more time. And with this particular scenario, I think this is going to shine. This is great for this. So I'm going to the stamp tool. And I just realized that one of the reasons why I was having a hard time is because I had a hard brush selected for the stamp tool. What you really want is actually the soft brush. That way it smooths any defects out. So let's try to do that on these Legos. Once again, I press the Alt key and hold it to select the area that I want to copy. I don't want to be too close to the lights, because then we're going to have lights in the middle of the driveway. We don't want that. So I'm going to start copying from this area right over here. Bring that over. And we're going to start coloring in our Legos. So I'm just holding the left key on my mouse and just moving it around. And as you can see, I went a little too far because now I'm actually copying the Legos that were in the middle and I'm putting them right here. So I'm going to let go. I'm going to copy from here and just color in these Legos. And now that I have a soft brush, it's actually blending everything very nicely and you can't see what I was doing. So if I zoom out, look at that. That only took me like what, 10 seconds? Legos completely gone. And before we move on to the next image, there is one more basic thing that I want to show you, and that is the V key on your keyboard. If you press V, that selects your arrow. You can also select it right over here, the selection tool. This allows you to grab and move anything that you have on the screen here, whether it be an image, text, or some clip art, or whatever it is. You can press and hold and move it around. So I can put it here. I can insert another image on the bottom. I can move it over. And just a reminder, to resize images, you press Ctrl-Alt-T. That brings up these little squares all around the image, and you're able to resize the image. You could also rotate it by going on the side here and just keep scrolling out right here until these arrows appear, and you can rotate the image as well. So let's go ahead and undo everything that we did. Put that back. And while I'm talking about rotation, one more cool thing that you could do that is sometimes just, I don't know, fun to do for whatever reason, go to Edit, scroll down to Transform, and you can flip horizontally. Look at that. Everything was literally flipped horizontally. And I have actually never tried flipping things vertically. Let's see what happens. Oh, it literally flips it upside down. Okay, well, now we know. Let's press Ctrl-Z. And that's it for this image. Let's move on to the next thing. Do I want to save? No, I don't. And the next picture I'm going to use is this one right over here. I'm going to take that, drop it into Photopea, and here it is. With this image, I just want to show you how to do some basic color correction. The easiest way to do this, if your image has really bad colors, is to simply go up right over here where it says image and press auto color or auto contrast. I got this image on Google, so it's probably already all edited, but let's just try it. Let's press auto color. And yeah, sure enough, absolutely nothing happens. But if your image has bad editing, this alone could fix a lot of things. Since nothing happened, I can simply press Control Z to undo that. And what I actually wanted to show you is this half moon symbol right over here. This is what you click on for adjustments. There's a lot of different options here. I'm only going to show you a couple of them that I most use. One that is pretty cool is black and white. This just literally turns everything black and white. You can press this adjustments tab right here to hide this back or bring it back up. If you don't like that, once again, press Control Z to undo. Another cool thing is what I like to do, vibrance. If a picture is kind of bland and just the colors are not very vibrant, it's literally exactly what it sounds like. It adds vibrance. So if you pull that up, I can press my hand tool, just move this picture right over here. That's the H key on the keyboard. Let's minimize it a little bit so we can see the whole image. And if I add vibrance, just look at the grass. It becomes a whole lot greener. So vibrance is kind of like saturation. It saturates the image, but it's more subtle. It's not as powerful. For example, if I do saturation, it completely makes it fake looking. Whereas vibrance, if you do like halfway, maybe 50%, it's not as noticeable as saturation would be. So that's one that I use a lot, vibrance. It just makes the image literally more vibrant. So let's undo that, undo that. The other one that I use a lot is brightness and contrast. And this, again, is exactly what it sounds like. This adds brightness or removes brightness. And the contrast adds contrast or removes contrast. Useful little tools. And if you ever have time, just try playing around with all the different ones and maybe you'll discover something cool. They all do something different. Like this is the invert. If I undo that, this one's posterize. It has all these different little effects. And if you go up on top, you also have a filter tab. You can do all kinds of effects in the filter tab as well, like sharpen the image. That sharpens the edges of things, or you can go to blur. And the one that actually uses the full picture blur is called Gaussian blur. So if I click on that, let's scooch this over and increase my blur. Nothing happens. Oh, okay, I see what's going on. See how I have the brightness and contrast layer selected? So I'm actually adding the blur effect to this brightness layer, which is kind of useless. I have to select the background, the picture, before I do the blur. Or better yet, I don't need this other stuff, so I'm just going to do Control Z, to make that thing disappear altogether. And now I have my background layer selected. Let's try that one more time. Go back to our blur, go to Gaussian blur. And like I was saying, just try playing around with all of these. There's some really cool options in here. Oh, there you go. Now we're seeing the blur. So I can increase the blur or I can decrease the blur, which can sometimes be useful. If you have a portrait of yourself with a clear background, you can slap that on there and make the background nice and blurry so you're standing out more. So that's how you do the blur, Control Z. And I think that's all I'm going to show you with the color correction and all the different little filters and adjustments that you could do. And just so you know, on YouTube, there is a ton of Photopea tutorials. Whatever you want to do, just type it into YouTube, like how to add glowing text to my image on Photopea. And I guarantee you that you will find a tutorial that will tell you step by step how to do what you want. So Photopea has been around for a while. There's tutorials on practically everything. Let's go back to our folder and we have 2 images left to work on. We got this one and the Legos. The reason I wanted to show you the Legos, well, for example, actually, let's put this picture back in here. And let's go ahead and add the Legos right on top. So the Legos are transparent background. Oops, I accidentally zoomed in. The Legos have a transparent background, so there's nothing in the background, but there are these annoying words right there. So if I were to put the Legos right in the grass and resize them, as if I have a pile of Legos in the grass. This is nice, but I have these nasty words right here that I don't want to be here. That is very easy to remove. Once again, you could just use the spot healing tool and monkey around with that. Maybe use the cloning tool. That's an easy way to do it. But even easier yet is to simply take your Legos, drop them right over here. So it opens it up separately. And using this cropping tool right here, simply crop those words out. And you can just crop this side a little bit and this side a little bit. It doesn't matter too much because the background is transparent anyway. Once you selected what you want to crop, press enter. Bam, that's cropped out. So now all I have to do is export as, that saves my image, and export it as a PNG. So you're saving it with a transparent background. So after I save that file, I will be able to use those same Legos to drop it back into this image, but without these words. And also, one more thing I wanted to show you that may be useful for you in some scenarios. There's opacity right here, and whatever layer you're selecting, you can actually make it more or less transparent, the whole entire image. So if we're looking at the Legos, notice how they're disappearing. And now they're just like a really faint glow. So that's kind of a nice effect to have something just very transparent on your image like that. I can definitely imagine a few scenarios where you could use that. So that's kind of cool too. I think we are done with this. Let's turn off our Legos, turn off our house with the green grass. Let's go back to our folder, and it looks like I only have one image left. It's called Magic Cut. I don't know if I really want to go over this. It's a little bit more advanced and hard to explain, but I'll just show it to you if somebody just wants to play around with it. It is kind of a cool tool. So let's take Magic Cut here, throw it into my project. We have Sally and Bob. So let's say that with this particular image, Bob wants to use his image as a profile picture with a transparent background. He does not want Sally to be in this image. There's a few different ways you could do this that are probably going to be easier than using the Magic Cut tool, but I'm going to use it just to show you how it works. So what we're going to do is go up here to select, and you see Magic Cut, which is grayed out. And once again, it's grayed out this time because we don't have the background layer selected. So let's select our background layer, try that again, and there you go, Magic Cut is now available. So I click on that, which brings up this screen right over here. So the screen on the left, the image on the left, this is what you're going to be working on, and the screen on the right, the image on the right, is showing you what is happening or what you're doing to the image. So to begin with, let's go over these three squares right over here. Green is what you want to keep, gray is neutral, and red is what you want to remove and make transparent. So to begin with, let's go on gray, make my brush bigger, remove all my red and green markings because it automatically just selects stuff that it thinks you want. There you go, I cleared all that out. And now I'm going to do green. This is for what I want to keep in the image, and I don't want this to be transparent. And I start coloring in Bob. You don't have to fully color him in because it just grabs the surrounding areas automatically. So as long as I colored in most of Bob, it should grab him automatically after I select the red areas that I want to cut out. So red, like I said, this is what we don't want. So I can just simply go like this. Cut out Sally as well. Boom, boom, boom. Look at that. Everything is cut out. And just so you see it better, right now I have it selected on the black background, but I can go to transparent, and this is basically what I cut out. This is what it's going to look like. A nice cutout image of Bob. If I go back to black, we can see that there is some blemishes over here, and that's because we have a smooth border selected. For example, if I increase this number, it's going to add even more black because it's trying to smooth out the edges. But if I set this to 0, it removes that whole smoothing feature and it gives you a nice sharp edge. So look at that. This works especially well for images that are really clear, like clip art or arrows or some other PNG images that are supposed to be transparent, but for some reason they have a background that you want to remove. If you really wanted to get nitty-gritty about it, you can zoom in, make your brush smaller, And hopefully you have a high resolution picture, because look at this, the quality of this is not very good. You got major pixelation going on. But you could zoom in. By the way, red and green cannot touch. See how it's saying that? So now I have to take the gray tool, erase that, go back to green. I meant to select green, but I accidentally took red. So what you could do is zoom in and just go right up to the edge and select everything that you want to and fine tune the image, making sure that everything is selected right up to the edge. And then you can take the red and make sure that everything that you don't want is cut out. But anyway, I think I already spent way too much time on this. Let me just show you how you would save this if you wanted to use it for something else. So I have Bob here. Here's how it looks like with the transparent background. I simply press OK. And basically now we see the image. Everything else is cut out except Bob, which is what we wanted. So now I can go ahead and save this image as a PNG because I want the background to remain transparent. We're going to go ahead and save this as Magic Cut 2. And now that I have the image saved, I can go ahead and close this file. Let's apply everything that we learned. We're going to go ahead and put this image back in. We're going to make it blurry. Remember how I was telling you how to make things blurry? You simply go to Gaussian blur, add a little bit more blurriness. Let's make it like that. Then here is our ready image with Bob with the clear background. I can go ahead and drop that right on top of this image. Here's our Bob. I'm going to make him larger. I'm accidentally zooming in and out on the whole image. I'm going to make him larger. I'm going to push him off to the corner. And there is Bob. And that's about all I wanted to show you. Although there is one cool feature that I should show you if I'm showing you this already. If you go to Effects, EFF right here, with the layer selected, with Bob right here. If you go to Effects and go to Outer Glow, you can add an outer glow around this whole image, the PNG image. So let's say I want it to be a white glow. And I'm going to select normal. You always want to select normal. There's a lot of different options, but you're most commonly going to be using normal. Opacity, you don't really want opacity to be set lower. Just set it to 100 right away. Sorry, I'm going a little bit faster because I feel like this video is taking way too long. And then you're going to increase the spread and the size. Just play around with it, see what you like. So if you increase the spread, that's what that looks like. It's a little clunky, right? It's very rigid. So we don't want the spread to be too much. We'll just add it like up to here. And then if we increase the size, it gives it a nice faint glow. So it looks like that. Not super professional, but if you play around with it, I'm sure you can make something that looks nice. And the last thing, I promise this is the last thing. Let me just show you how to add text. You can simply press T or the text tool right here. Click right on the image and start typing. Let's say Bob, enter, selling a house. And I'm going to press Control A to select all my text. I'm going to make it bigger like that. The way I'm making it bigger is by simply pressing on size right on the word itself. And I'm holding my left mouse key and I'm dragging it around just like that. Or you could simply type in the value that you want. So I could type in 200, bam, it shows up. If your mouse is hovering over the words itself, it's going to select where you want to type. And if you go outside of that field of the text, it brings up this cursor that looks like arrows on all four sides, and you could move around your text. So let's go ahead and select my text again by pressing Control A. So I'm pressing right on the text, pressing Control A to select all of it. That means I'm editing all of the text. I'm going to center it, make it look like that. I'm going to change it to, let's say, white. So it looks like that. Bob is selling a house. You can change the font right over here. Let's say that I found a style that I like. So now we have Bob who is selling a house and his text is looking pretty plain. So what we could do is go to Effects again. And two popular ones that you could use are Stroke and Drop Shadow. This is for text, although Outer Glow works very well as well. So let's start with Drop Shadow. That's what Drop Shadow looks like. You can play around with all the different adjustments right here. I can press OK, press Ctrl Z to undo that. You could also go to stroke, which just adds an outline on the outside. That's what that looks like. You can make the size a little bigger. Let's say we want it to look like this. And that's what our finished result would look like. So I'm going to show you just a couple more things and we will call it a day. With the selection tool selected right over here, or simply by pressing V, let's go ahead and try to put this text right behind Bob. That doesn't look very good, but what you can do is take this layer, grab it, and move it down here. Now we're going to have Bob over the text, which is kind of cool. And if you got some kind of a heavy project going and you have a lot of layers in here, you could also hide layers just to make things less messy. So for example, if I press this eyeball right over here, that hides the text. And now if I save the image, the text will not be in the saved picture. So the folder is done for, and I really thought I was done, but actually I did have one more thing that I wanted to show you. And I think this is pretty important, so I will actually make the effort to go through this. Basically, I went to Google, I typed in open house sign. This is actually how I made my open house signs. I found a design that I liked, and I pretty much recreated it. In my case, I really like this red arrow that he has, but I could not find it on Canva anywhere, and I could not find it on Google anywhere. So I ended up having to cut this arrow out and use that in my image. I even tried to tell ChatGPT, I put this image into ChatGPT, and I was telling it to make this arrow alone, like just make me a picture of just the arrow with a transparent background, and it would just not do it. So that was one of those times where I said, you know what, fine, I'll do it myself, and I did. But what I wanted to show you in this particular scenario, if you right-click on this image and press Save Image As, a lot of these images are actually going to save as a web page, and you don't want that. Basically, what this means is if you're going to try to open this image, it's simply going to take you to that web page. But what you want to save it as is a JPEG. So this will not work. And the easiest workaround that I have found is to simply right-click on the image, press Open Image in New Tab, and most computers have a tool built into it called the snipping tool. On my computer, it looks like this. Yours might be slightly different, but simply type in snipping in your search bar in Windows or whatever operating system you're using. Type in snipping tool and probably something will pop out. This tool is super easy to use. You simply press New. Let's move it a little bit out of the way. You press New, and then you select the area that you want to cut out. It can be anything. You can cut your whole entire screen. It's like a print screen, or you can focus on just the arrow, for example, or this whole entire image. So I can select this, just like this, bam. And then I simply press save. I save this image on my desktop or wherever, and it's going to save it as a JPEG. So now it's an actual image file. I find this very helpful, and I actually use this snipping tool quite a bit. And for anyone interested how I cut this arrow out, I can show you really quick. I promise this time it's totally the last thing I show you. So let's go to New. I simply cut the arrow out like this using the snipping tool. I saved it. Here's my saved arrow. I'm going to go ahead and just drop it right into Photopea. And then I'm going to use the Magic Cut tool that I showed you previously. I go to Select, Magic Cut. I'm going to use the gray thing. Remove all the selected areas. You can make your brush just huge, so you can just one-click it, just like that. I'm going to select red, what I don't want, which is basically everything around the arrow. You can simply just do dots too. Sometimes that's faster. Dot, dot, dot. Green is what I do want to keep, which is the arrow. I simply press OK. Bam. Look at that. That's my arrow with a transparent background. If I'm not teaching this, it literally only takes me about 20 seconds to do. And that is all I wanted to show you. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will try my best to help you out. And for those of you that stayed all the way to the end of this video, I have 2 Chuck Norris jokes for you. Did you know that Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice? And I also found out that death had a near Chuck Norris experience.